All right, quick refresher. Isla Crown broke a centuries-old curse, saved everyone, and kissed a king. Classic fantasy ending, right? Well, Nightbane isn't here for happily ever after. It's here for magical meltdowns and emotional damage. We're back on Lightlark, a beautiful island full of deadly politics, messed up fairy curses, and rulers with way too many secrets. 6 realms, each with their own powers and drama. Peace was supposed to be the reward after the curse got lifted. Instead, we get visions of war, mysterious monsters, and love triangles sharper than any enchanted sword. Our girl Isla, she's now the ruler of multiple realms because apparently one just wasn't stressful enough. And she's dealing with some real post-traumatic fantasy disorder. Not only is she trying to figure out how to be a queen, she's also starting to remember things she definitely didn't sign up for. Like that time she had a whole secret relationship with Grim, the ruler of the Nightshade realm, and oops, he wiped her memory clean. How romantic. Also, she's currently dating Oro, the Golden King of Lightlark. So yeah, that's awkward. In other words, we're picking up right where Lightlark left off, but with way more emotional damage, heavier stakes, and about 80% more magical chaos. So the curse is broken, everyone's free, and Isla should be chilling with a drink under a magic tree, right? Wrong. Now that everyone's not cursed anymore, the island of Lightlark is basically in hot mess recovery mode. The 6 realms, Sunlings, Moonlings, Skylings, Wildlings, Starlings, and Nightshades, are all trying to pretend they get along, but it's like shoving 6 rival cliques into a group project and hoping no one flips a table. Isla's been promoted, or maybe cursed, with ruling 3 realms now: Wildling, Starling, and Nightshade. And let's just say she's not exactly thrilled about it. She's tired, confused, and everyone's looking at her like she's supposed to know what she's doing. Spoiler, she doesn't. But she's trying her best, and honestly, that's more than most of these realm leaders can say. During her coronation as ruler of the Starlings, big event, fancy clothes, definitely not a trap, she gets hit with a terrifying vision of the future. Bodies, shadows, death. A fun little mental slideshow, courtesy of her ex, Grim, who may or may not be planning to invade the island. Charming. To make things even better, the ceremony is suddenly attacked by flying murder beasts that rise out of the ground like some kind of cursed piñata. Everyone panics, guests are screaming, blood is everywhere, and guess what? The monsters don't touch Isla. Nope. They look at her, nod like you good, and fly off. That's not suspicious at all. Naturally, the other realm leaders are like, hey Isla, why didn't the creatures kill you too? So now she's got a new nickname, Queen of Suspicion. Not exactly the crown she wanted. Cleo, ruler of the Moonlings, is giving major I'm totally not the traitor, but definitely am energy. The others are wary, except for Azul, the Skyling King, who's basically fairy world Mr. Rogers. He's the only one being chill and democratic while the rest are sharpening swords and pointing fingers. Meanwhile, Isla's internal crisis is spiraling. She's got visions, magical powers she can't fully control, a kingdom or 3 to run, and people whispering about rebellion. So Isla needs training, urgently. Her magic is unpredictable. One minute she's healing flowers, the next she's killing them. Shadows show up when she's stressed, vines snap out when she's mad, and half the time she doesn't even remember doing it. Obviously, the best solution is a classic fantasy training montage. First up, her magical situation is complicated. She has plant powers and healing magic. You know, nature stuff, yay. But also nightshade powers, shadows, illusions, and I just emotionally blacked out. These 2 magic systems are less peanut butter and jelly and more fireworks and gasoline. She can't control either without accidentally destroying something or herself. Enter Oro, her golden boy, boyfriend / magical tutor / king of being aggressively supportive. He's like, let's train. And Isla's like, great, I'll go cry behind a rock now. But to be fair, he's been through some stuff too. Accidentally roasted a guy as a kid, you know, normal magical puberty stuff. Isla's training looks like this. Tries to move a pebble, cries, tries to grow a flower, nearly barfs, tries to focus, hallucinates her ex, but she keeps going. She learns to feel her feelings instead of bottling them like a true emotionally unavailable fantasy heroine. And it works. Her powers start responding to her emotions. Rage makes vines grow, sadness summons storms, and lust probably sets things on fire, let's be honest. Then she decides it's time to prove she's a real wildling queen by getting a bonded, aka a magical spirit animal that says, yes, this girl rules. This leads her to a cursed swamp where she nearly gets mauled by a bear the size of a minivan. She climbs a tree, nearly dies again, and meets Lynx, a panther the size of a Honda Civic with the personality of a disappointed stepdad. Fun fact, Lynx used to belong to her dead mom. Even more fun fact, he looks at Isla like he's 2 seconds away from calling Child Protective Services. But he lets her bond with him anyway, which in fairy terms is basically saying, we cool. With Lynx on her side and emotions properly weaponized, Isla starts acting like an actual queen. She visits her starving people, listens to their needs, and suggests democracy, which in fantasy world is basically witchcraft. Azul, the democratic sky king with therapist energy, keeps showing up like a supportive podcast host. Breathe, Isla. Channel your inner roots. Also, maybe overthrow monarchy. Things are finally turning around. She's got powers, a panther, some respect, and then the memories start leaking back. So remember Grim, tall, dark, emotionally damaged, the ruler of the Nightshade realm who talks like a haunted poem and probably listens to nothing but sad flute music? Yeah, that Grim. Well, it turns out Isla didn't just sort of know him. No, they had a whole underground, secret, magical love affair that was so intense it literally got wiped from her brain. Romantic. Let's rewind to before times, pre-Centennial, pre-curses breaking, pre-therapy. Isla, raised in total isolation because of her surprise, you're not actually magic situation, uses a magical teleporting stick, yes, that's the technical term, to sneak out of her castle like a teenage runaway. She ends up accidentally in the Nightshade Kingdom, as one does. She's panicking. Grim shows up like a shadowy god, and Isla does the most logical thing. She stabs him in the stomach. Romantic tension unlocked. Grim is like, wow, you're feisty. And instead of turning her into a shadow pancake, he decides she might be useful. He's on a quest to find a super rare, super powerful sword to save his realm from shadow demons called Drex, basically magical murder dogs. So Grim and Isla team up on a magical road trip through Lightlark, dodging monsters, solving puzzles, emotionally scarring each other, and eventually falling in love in the most enemies to lovers way imaginable. And just when things get sweet, Isla saves Grim during a battle by nearly dying, because nothing says I love you like draining your life force. In return, Grim binds her life to his. Cute, right? Except now their lives are magically connected, so if one dies, the other might too. No pressure, but there's a catch, a big one. To survive the Centennial, where rulers gather and play magical Hunger Games, they had to pretend not to know each other. So what does Grim do? Does he talk it out like a normal person? Of course not. He uses magic to erase every memory Isla has of him. Gone. Poof. Full magical gaslight. This is the part where everyone yells, red flag. But the book's like, no, it's fine. He did it for love. So now, post-training, post-bonded panther, Isla starts getting glimpses of the past. Flickers. Emotions that don't make sense. A shadowed figure she somehow trusts. A sword. A promise. She doesn't know what it all means yet, just that something's missing, and is tied to Grim. She starts to question the official story. Why does Grim haunt her memories like a ghost she almost remembers? Why do her instincts say to trust him even when her mind can't explain why? The vision, the one she thought was a prophecy, still terrifies her. Grim, surrounded by shadows, Lightlark burning. But now, there's a whisper of doubt. What if it's not just a warning? What if it's something else? She doesn't have the answers yet, just more questions. But One thing's becoming clear: the past she thought she knew has holes in it, and Grim might be the only one who can fill them. So just when Isla thinks things can't possibly get worse, things of course get worse. Tensions between the realms are heating up like someone left the magical stove on. Grim's spooky army might invade. The other rulers are panicking. Cleo, Queen of the Moonlings, is acting shady as ever. The kind of shady where she says, "I'm totally neutral," while low-key helping the enemy behind your back. And Oro, he's getting nervous, like Golden King sweating nervous. He's noticed Isla's been different. The visions, the strange instincts, the fact that her magic is doing weird new things, all of it is raising red flags. She's remembering things she can't explain, and Oro's giving her side eye like she's about to unleash a magical scandal at brunch. And Isla? She's trying to keep it together on 4 hours of sleep, a loyal panther, and several metric tons of emotional baggage. But instead of running away, Isla goes full war general. First, she visits the Starlings, who are basically still living in a magical post-apocalyptic wasteland. She meets Marin, sweet, and Marin's cousin Cinder, 8 years old and already has more magical power than half the adults. Isla starts gathering allies, anyone with a sword and a pulse. Then she does the unthinkable. She reaches out to the Venderland. These are ancient, battle-hardened warriors who eat hearts and probably brush their teeth with lava. Oro's like, "That's a terrible idea," but Isla's like, "Cool story, I'm doing it anyway." So she marches into Venderland, nearly dies again, and ends up impressing their leader with her death and life powers. They agree to help because apparently having the magical ability to both grow a flower and kill a tree with your mind is a pretty solid resume builder. Back on Lightlark, Azul brings his people together for a democracy vote. Because of course he does. Half the Skylings want to stay and fight, half want to move to the fairy equivalent of Canada. It's a toss-up. Oh, and Cleo, she pulls a classic, "Thanks for the pep talk, now I'm joining the enemy." Yep, she bounces and joins Grim's side because of course she does. She even takes the 2 frozen oracles with her, super casual betrayal. But before she leaves, she drops a final bomb. The oracle wants to see Isla, alone. So, Isla visits the oracle, and things go from mildly confusing to existential crisis with a side of emotional horror real fast. The oracle, now halfway thawed and still rocking that cryptic old mystic energy, drops the truth bomb. Her memories are the key. Everything she needs to know, it's already in her mind. Super helpful when your brain's been magically scrubbed by your ex-boyfriend. Thanks for that, Grim. But then it clicks. Isla finally realizes that the terrifying vision she's been haunted by since the beginning, the one with all the death, shadows, and internal screaming, it wasn't a prophecy, it was a memory. A trauma-flavored highlight reel of the moment she went full magical berserker and unleashed chaos to save Grim during a past battle. So yeah, Grim didn't betray her, she died saving him. And he in return did something reckless, dramatic, and deeply on brand. He brought her back to life, tied their souls together, and erased her memories so she'd survive the Centennial without the others knowing the truth. That's not betrayal. That's some ancient magical soap opera stuff. And now she has to choose. Because the Oracle's final prophecy is brutal. She needs to kill one of them. Oro or Grim. It's not a metaphor, not a riddle. Meanwhile, the world is collapsing in real time. Grim's shadow army is coming, but it's not what everyone thinks. He's not there to destroy Lightlark. He's trying to find the vault, which holds the power to save Isla for good. Turns out the magical sword isn't some evil apocalypse weapon. It's a key to another world. A world where Grim believes he can find the magic needed to restore Isla's fading life. Because here's the thing, when Grim brought her back, it wasn't perfect. The magic tied their souls together, but left her life force unstable. She's been slowly weakening ever since. Dude went full Romeo just to bring his girl back. Now comes the final decision. Oro, the Golden King, safe and steady, who stood by her through everything. Or Grim, the Dark Prince of emotionally devastating plot twists, who erased her memories for her own good, and then risked everything to save her. So what does Isla do? She walks away. From the throne, from the island, from Golden Boy Oro, she chooses Grim. Together they leave Lightlark behind. Because apparently true love means abandoning your political career and riding off into magical darkness with the guy who once erased your memories. And somewhere in the back of her mind, the Oracle's final prophecy still lingers. A promise that one day she will kill either Oro or Grim. She's escaped that fate for now.